that I get out of it personally. We'll also check in a little bit with Lucha Underground, as well as some actual real-life impact news on some wrestling performers, including both Bret the Hitman Hart and Titus O'Neil. And the Titus O'Neil story is, I chuckled a little bit there, but it's actually not very funny at all, and it did happen around or slightly involving the Daniel Bryan retirement. But we'll get to that in more specifics. And then a little bit of miscellaneous news, sad miscellaneous news, involving the passing of BMX legend Dave Mirra. So that's what we've all got that we're trying to cram into this 90 to 120 minute show this week. Good luck, Scotty Ball. Here goes. All right, well, now that you've heard all of the, likely topics, if you play the balls deep gambling game at home, I do not condone nor condemn. Place your wagers on what you think the topic is going to be and get the honor of starting off this week's show with our hit opening segment. All right, Louis, drum roll, please. Daniel Bryan's... No, I'm just kidding. The NBA also... No, I'm just kidding. Super Bowl freaking 50. Duh. We just watched the Super Bowl this past Sunday. We have not talked since the Super Bowl happened. So, of course, our hit opening segment. Say it with me. 3, 2, 1. Balls on fire. The topic is Super Bowl 50. Everything Super Bowl 50 related. Now, if you listened to last week's episode 51 of the show, whether it be on the Spreaker app, my personal favorite, free Spreaker app, or SoundCloud or YouTube, you would then know that my official prediction for this past Super Bowl was 24-16 Carolina over Denver. Now that is, and you would also know that that is not at all what I was cheering for. I was cheering for a Denver Broncos victory all the way. Now, if you follow the show on social media, on Twitter at BDST Show, or on Facebook, search Scotty-Ball, like and friend, then you would know that a couple hours before the Super Bowl began, before the game was underway, I tweeted out and posted on Facebook that if the Denver Broncos defense could neutralize Cam Newton, not like shut him down, like neutralize, contain, limit. If the Denver Broncos defense could do that to one guy on the other team, we could see the Broncos win by double digits. And of course, that's exactly what happened. But that wasn't my official prediction. Now, why wasn't that my official prediction? Honestly, more than anything, that's probably what I'm most fired up about. Because I should have been right officially the whole time. I should have had the Broncos by double digits. Because I knew it. I just didn't realize it until a couple hours before the game. And why is that? Well, it's because I fell into the trap that we do with ourselves as sports fans, as human beings. And in addition to sports fans, people who listen to, other sports talk, sports media, things of that nature. We made the mistake of trying to measure how good each team was based off of what they had done in other matchups in the past. And then compare those two rankings next to each other and go, okay, well, this team is better. This team should win. Too few of us took the time to sit down and go, okay, here's what we've learned about this team's strengths and this team's weaknesses. And, on the other side as well. Now, let's focus on the matchups. How do these two teams match up against each other? What needs to be done for one team to win? What needs to be done for And that's when it hit me. It was like, the Denver Broncos defense is the overall best defense in football if you go by total yards. Granted, the Panthers allowed the least points, which is the most important thing, but there are other factors that go into how many points you allow than just how well your defense plays. Such as turnovers, field position, game management, all kinds of stuff. Whereas total yards that a defense gives up, that's pretty much just, the defense is in 100% control of those stats. And as we mentioned on last week's show, the team that had led the league in total defense had made it to the Super Bowl 11 times. This was the 12th time now. And after last week, 10 of those 12 have won the Super Bowl. So knowing that, and then looking at, okay, this are this team's strengths and weaknesses, this are this team's strengths and weaknesses, it occurred to me that the Denver Broncos defense will have absolutely no problem getting to and stopping Cam Newton and thus the entire Carolina Panthers offense. Jonathan Stewart ain't going to be able to run against him all that well. Nothing against Jonathan Stewart. He had a good year. I like Jonathan Stewart. But the Denver Broncos' strength is rushing on the outside and being able to cover the receivers. Now, we look at that, and then we see that the Panthers have no wide receivers, and the only place their offensive line is weak is at both tackle positions, left tackle and right tackle. Well, that sets up perfect. So all the Broncos got to do then from there in the matchups, their defense versus Carolina's offense, is finish plays. Tackle well, which is easier said than done against Cam Newton in most games. Now, but then again, in most games, he is not wearing golden, I'm the MVP, and here were my personal statistics, here were my individual statistics from my MVP season on my shoes. Yes, I'm wearing gold shoes, and my team colors are silver, turquoise, and black. But I'm wearing gold shoes because I was the MVP, and that was announced the night before the game, and I'm a huge douchebag. So in classic Cam Newton fashion, yes, he found a way to fire me up against him, even more than I already was going into the game when I saw his special shoes that he had made for himself for the Super Bowl to honor himself. Yeah, classy guy, real classy. But we'll get more into Cam Newton's class or classlessness in all reality in just a little bit. But let's finish out with the matchups and how things played out. So realizing that a couple hours going into the game, it was like, oh my gosh, this is probably what's going to happen. Posted it, tweeted it, and lo and behold, that's what happened. I did, for the record, reshare my official and original prediction, though. I owned that the whole time. But lo and behold, the game plays out, and Von Miller, who ended up being MVP, wreaked havoc off the outside against the Carolina Panthers tackles all game on Cam Newton. They tackled Cam Newton extremely well, individually many times, other times as a group. Cam seemed off his game the whole entire game. Honestly, before he took his first snap, he seemed off. But again, we'll get to Cam in just a little bit. DeMarcus Ware off the other edge had a really good game as well. The Broncos secondary completely shut down. Almost anywhere that Cam could have wanted to go with the ball when he did have time to throw. For whatever reason, the coaching staff, the offensive coordinator of the Carolina Panthers just kept going with this just senseless game plan and play calling that I could not understand. And looking at the statistics, unbiasedly, I said at the end of the season, without question, the offensive coordinator of the Panthers should be the offensive coordinator of the year, seeing how efficient they were getting touchdowns and points when they had the opportunity to, in relation to the amount of yards that they got. They still found a way to be at the top of the league in rushing yards, even though they did not have a very good passing game. They were in the 20th or worse in total passing. Yet their quarterback gets MVP. Yeah, that's kind of weird, but I didn't understand why they didn't have more designed runs for Cam Newton in that game. It just they tried to have him. I don't know. It just seems like watching that game, it seemed like they weren't aggressive in the right way with using Cam, and they just, they weren't willing to come off of what their initial strategy and plan of attack for the game was. So the coaching staff on the Carolina Panthers got out-coached as well. The coaching staff, Gary Kubiak, head coach, Wade Phillips, defensive coordinator for the Denver Broncos. If you could give out the MVP award or, a coaching MVP award in a game, it would go to the Broncos defensive coordinator, Wade Phillips. That guy is as good of a defensive coordinator as it gets in the NFL. He's one of the best I've ever seen. You can look back at almost everything he's ever done, everywhere he's gone. He is phenomenal. The results speak for themselves. And in the 2 weeks to prepare for the game, you could tell that, he saw and felt what I did, but way sooner and earlier, obviously. Of this is how you counter the Carolina Panthers offense. This is how you limit the Carolina Panthers offense. This is how you attack the Carolina Panthers offense. He was able to see that, and it worked. It just so happened that the philosophical way, from a play calling and game planning standpoint, that you go about accomplishing that worked perfectly with the strengths and individual pieces that the Broncos have on their defense. Their personnel-wise, they're set up absolutely perfectly to execute that type of game plan, that type of strategy. And then on the flip side, like I said, you had a Panthers offensive coordinator and head coach that seemed either unwilling to or unable to make adjustments throughout the course of the game. It felt like they came in with a strategy that was slightly off and wrong, but you could still win. It would still keep them in the game at least, but not giving them the best chance to win. That's how we'll say it or think of it. But then as the game went on, where they really came up short was they failed to make the adjustments and go, okay, this is what we're doing this is what they're doing that we got to shut down. This is what they're doing that we can exploit. This is what we're doing wrong that we need to do better. This is what we can do to, what we should look for. They really just didn't seem ready or prepared or, competent in doing that. So, it went both ways. I really felt that for the most part of this game, I don't know, the score almost didn't reflect how lopsided, how one-sided this game really was and felt to me. This game was all Broncos the whole time. There really wasn't ever at any point in time where the Panthers had a whole lot of anything going for them, or you ever felt like they were about to turn a corner and get some momentum and win the game. That was never ever the case at any point in the game at all. So you see 14-point victory, and that's 24-10 is about how it felt, but it didn't get to be that big of a score until late in the fourth quarter with a little bit of garbage time, touchdown and 2-point conversion to make it that way. Now, the MVP of the game did end up being Von Miller, the defensive player for the Denver Broncos. And on the Denver Broncos offense, they did end up getting 1 touchdown and 2-point conversion, like I said, late in the game. It was a rushing touchdown with C.J. Anderson. Peyton Manning, however,